good people? Welcome into Montgomery and Company. I'm Renee Montgomery. We got Rex Chapman today, you guys. I'm really excited because I love to talk to people that have, one, lived the same life I lived, and he was a professional athlete in the NBA, but also have just been through a lot and are now excelling. And that's exactly what he's doing. He's a host of the podcast Owned. And I'm going to be on that podcast with him. And then he also comes on our podcast to talk about, he gets very candid about recovering from his addiction. He talks about playing against Michael Jordan, new age media, a little bit of everything. And then the group, we also talk about, listen, everybody's on tour right now. Beyonce, Drake, Taylor Swift. We get into it. Let's go. Okay, so whenever I talk to athletes, I instantly think about self-care. And I'm going to talk to Rex a little bit more about it when it comes to mental health and the athletic space. Those things used to be like oil and water. They did not mix. You did not talk about it. But now it's talked about freely. And I was just on a meeting yesterday, and it was a business meeting, a work meeting, and people were talking about how do you have self-care while you're still performing at work, or how do you take care of yourself while you're in the thick of it, basically. And so, I always sports explain things in a sense of make it into sports terms. And so when we were having this conversation, you can think about like, these are people maybe in the sports world, and they're like, all right, how do you find moments for yourself when there's 3 or 4 games every week? Where do you find the time for yourself? Because when there's not a game, you still have practice. And so how do you get away? How do you check out mentally? How do you take care of yourself while you're in the thick of it? And it's tough because the easy answer is I'm going to set time aside. I'm going to do my meditations. I'm going to plan this hour for this. And anybody that knows, life happens, and you had a plan to start at 9, but then the dog did this and your daughter did this, and now you're starting at 10:30, and you can make all kinds of plans, but how do you stay locked in and actually take care of your mental health? And so some of the things that were said on the call, I thought I would just pass them along because I feel like we all get in these moments where we call it in the dog days of the season, where you're halfway through the season, or it's right before All-Star break, or it's just those moments where you just got to figure it out. You got to tough it out. So what are ways when you're in those dog days that you can just take care of yourself, take care of your mentals? So these are some of the suggestions that honestly, professionals, executives, C-suite members were tossing around. And so I'm going to pass them along to you because I thought that they could be helpful. And so the first one that I thought was good, and this could be for somebody that if you're in a leadership role or if you're not in a leadership role, it's when you do have a day off, actually take the day off. I know it sounds crazy, but it's easy to have a day off and still not actually work on stuff, but be worried about the stuff that you need to work on. So you spent your whole day off thinking about all the things that you're going to have to do when you're no longer on your day off. And so then when you get back after the day off, do you even feel like you had a day off? So that's the thing. It sounds good. It sounds easy, but really find out a way to like not worry about the things that you have to do when you go back to work. Again, easier said than done. Athletes have to do it all the time where everything in your world could be breaking down, and then you just have to figure out a way to lock in. It's game time and you have to perform. So it's an athlete mentality, but you have to get that. When it's time to turn it off, it's time to turn it off. And then don't get so stuck on plans. This is something that, a high executive said, where you might have planned to leave the house at 9 to get to work early. And of course, these times aren't right. You might have planned to leave the house at 4. You wanted to get to work early. You wanted to get to work before everybody so that you could catch up on everything. And then life happened and you didn't actually leave the house until the exact normal time that you leave the house every morning. You could easily have a meltdown. Like everybody could easily be so frustrated with, dog, I wanted to get ahead. This was my chance. This was my day. The advice from a high executive was that you got to let that go. Like you can't let that make your whole day be a bad day because you started out bad. You could start out having a bad day and then you yourself can change that day. So a way to kind of just help yourself get out of a rut is don't let one thing turn into an all day thing. That was an advice from them. You made one thing went wrong, and now at the end of the day, you had 20 things go wrong because of the first one thing that went wrong. Don't let that happen. And then the last advice, if you're in the dog days and you still got to just figure it out, is that you have vacation days or there's vacation breaks that happen. Plan something. And when I say plan something, this was something that was brought up on the call as well. You may not have the money to actually plan somewhere to go. So plan your staycation. Plan to binge watch the show that you've been meaning to watch but been too busy to watch. Plan to have all the snacks that you wanted to have that you haven't been eating because you've been trying to be good. Just plan something for yourself, because those little breaths, even if it's just a 1-2 day getaway that you plan a staycation for yourself, mentally, it may help you. So we're all in our dog days. We're all trying to figure it out. We're all in our grind. Some people have 50-11 jobs. Some people are taking care of 50-11 people. Some people forget to take care of themselves. And so I just want everybody, these are advice from athletes, from people that are executives, and for people that are employees trying to figure it out. You got to find a way to have self-care and take care of yourself, because we all got to take care of ourselves. So having said that, now I'm going to have a conversation with Rex Chapman, who has honestly had to figure out self-care at the highest level once you've hit rock bottom. But now he's done exactly that. So excited to talk to former NBA player Rex Chapman. Coming up next. Here with my guy Rex Chapman, and I love talking to former athletes because we all turn into something. Now he's the host of a podcast, Owned, where he talks about sports ownership and dives into that world, but you might have seen him as an analyst. I love him on Twitter, but we're going to get all into it. Rex, thank you for joining us here on Montgomery & Co.
Renee, I'm so happy to be here. We've been threatening to do this for months, so I'm really excited. I just love your energy. I love your story. I'm from Kentucky. You're from neighboring West Virginia, so yes. I've followed your career. I'm really honored to be doing this.
Love it. Thank you, Rex. Don't threaten me with a good time. So we're on podcast to podcast right now. So how did you come up with the idea to, like, everybody's coming up with ideas to start podcasts, but why sports ownership?
It wasn't me. I'm not that guy. I'm not the ideas guy. But a guy named Rich Corson came to me a little over a year ago, and he was doing. If you've heard of the Smart List podcast with Jason Bateman and Will Arnett and Sean Hayes, they've kind of branched out, and they started a couple of their own spinoff podcasts, and Owned is one of their first spinoffs. And he asked me if I'd be interested in kind of hosting it, and I didn't have anything better to do, and it sounded like an amazing opportunity. It's fascinating. Owners, yourself being an owner, you know that you guys control sort of the collective emotions of a fan base, of an entire fan base, just with something you might say in the media, or if you trade a player or whatever. And it's sort of an area of sports that we haven't really delved into too far. And so far, it's just been fascinating.
Yeah, no, I could see that. I mean, you have the Jerry Jones of the world, the Mark Cubans.
Yeah.
So what's the wildest thing or the most interesting thing that you've discovered since starting this podcast? Because I do believe that this is a very interesting group that I'm a part of.
It is. It really is. And what I've found is, like, okay, so we recently had Natalie Portman on, who owns Angel City out in LA, and Russell Crowe, also, both actors, Oscar-winning actors, and the who've done crazy, amazing things in their lifetimes. But when you sit and talk to them, Russell in particular, he bought his childhood favorite rugby team. Great. He bought it from Rupert Murdoch for like $3 million. Rupert had sort of run it into the ground, and he bought it in the early 2000s for $3 million. And 10 years later, they won the whole thing, and the franchise is worth like $85 million today. And that's what when you talk to him, that's what he's passionate about. He's done all this other stuff, but the sport, he loves it. He loves the athletes. You know, he grew up playing rugby. His family grew up playing. It's just fun to hear these people talking about, you know, something that we know quite a bit about.
Facts, yeah.
And you wouldn't expect them to be passionate about it. So that's just been a real treat for me.
Yeah. So what have you seen about that? Because, like, I say this all the time, that sports ownership is one of the most sought after opportunities. I don't care what line of profession you are coming from. What is it? Because it could be somebody that's from the tech space. It could be somebody
Yep.
who's in, it doesn't matter what background you came from. It seems that sports ownership is attracting everyone. Why?
I don't know. I do know this. We're on this earth for some reason, and you have to have something to do. You must have something to do. And for a lot of us walking this planet, going to concerts, going to games, going to movies, all those things are part of that life. And when you go to those events, you normally have a really good time. Yeah. I think that owners, some may have wanted to play sports, but I think it's the closest thing you can get. Being on there is nothing like being on a team. Nothing. I was just thinking the other day about getting my third grade basketball uniform. I made the team. I made the team. What? I get to do this. It's just something about being a part of a team that you really can't explain. And it's not really, it's the winning and the losing, but it's the journey of the day in, the day out, the bus rides, whatever it is, just being a part of something that's bigger than you. And I think that's probably what's really attractive to people that have, enormous amounts of money. They're looking for excitement. And, hopefully people like yourself, when they get into it, are looking to do some good as well in the community.
Definitely. As you were saying that, you were basically going through the athlete life.
Right.
And do you think that it's a little bit I know my family knows this. I sports explain everything. Did we come out of this brainwashed? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I think so.
We know a certain way we like to do things. We have ideas.
John Lucas, if you don't know John was the number one pick in the draft. He had long, lengthy alcohol and drug issues, but he helps guys to this day. I think he's sober 30 years at this point. John said something pretty amazing to me one time, and I came out of basketball and spent 13 or 14 years on painkillers, and, took having to dig out of that to get where I am now. But John, when I was with John during that time, when I was coming out of recovery again, and he said, listen, Rex, you got to figure out what's going on with you. Athletes die twice. They die when they quit playing, and then they die at the end of life. And you got to figure out who you are and what you are once you, and, I think honestly, and we talked about this recently, you always knew what you wanted to do. You wanted to, be involved in basketball and business. And I didn't. I really didn't. I was basketball and basketball.
So you didn't know.
I was my stat sheet. I was the box score. And if I played poorly, I was going to live it, eat it for the next till I can play again. Yep. And then I think that the other thing that people don't realize is that highly competitive people like yourself, making game winners and big shots and stuff like that, that's addictive. You do it from the time you're in you do it several times a day in pickup games. Facts. You make shots, you talk shit, and most of the time there aren't people around. When you do it in games, it's hard to explain. But the thing you don't think about is you've been doing that since you're 8 years old, all the way till I'm 32. Yeah, I'm going to quit playing. You don't realize you're going to miss that. You don't realize you're going to need to fill that void positively.
Yeah. And then what happens when you don't fill it positively?
Just straight down a straight down a hole. And, so all the things that, they prepare us to do in the WNBA and the NBA, all the rookie transition, all of that stuff, it matters. You should listen. People should pay attention, because you will stop playing someday, and you better find a way to fill your time productively.
No, I mean, it's crazy you say that, because it's fill your time productively. And just a side note for people that may have heard you say, that you were addicted you had 7 surgeries towards the last 3 years of your playing career. Just so people can understand, you were prescribed Oxycontin, Vicodin, you were prescribed every opiate. So you had to be on those to almost part of your recovery, but then the addiction happened and different. I just wanted to give context.
Yeah, right. But you know what? Yes, it was. The thing you learn about addiction is that I like to say that. I think I kind of rationalize myself that way and say, well, yeah, I came about it honestly.
Right.
However you get there, you got there.
Right.
And you got to get out. That's the common thing. No matter, whether I just went out one night and, decided, oh yeah, let me try that. Or you get it from a doctor, it's the same addiction. And you just got to figure out how to get out of it.
No, I'm glad you bring that up. Just it makes me think, I'm sure a lot of people that are around people that are dealing with addiction, they think that it's a choice. But I would say
Yeah.
that you would probably be like athletes, people would have to argue me up and down that athletes aren't some of the most mentally tough people in the world. Like,
Yeah.
I know that there's difficult jobs that involve life and death. I do understand that. But the amount of pressure that a professional athlete puts on themselves, gets from the outside public about performing.
Right.
I just think that we have to break that stigma of all stigmas, even mental health. When you think about sports,
Right.
when you were playing, and if you told somebody that you were struggling mentally, what do
Nah,
you think they would have said?
that was not a thing. And in fact, that really sort of did happen. I know that I had depression from probably college on. I didn't really know what it was. And I kind of felt guilty about it because at the time people would be like, depressed. What do you got to be depressed about? That's not what we're talking about. When I got into the NBA, I was probably in my second or third year, and there was a really good player, played at University of Minnesota. His name was Willie Burton. Willie was like a second round pick, but he got 50 in the league a couple times and could really play. Willie was a year or two younger than I was, and he had an episode out in public and kind of had a, just sort of a breakdown. And he came out the next day and announced that he had, been diagnosed with clinical depression, and the knives came out. Like it was not acceptable. You're not supposed to talk to that.
Yeah, because that was way before.
It was in the early 90s. And
Because
so
honestly, the past 2 years, right? Go ahead and finish. Sorry.
but it made me think I'm not talking about anything that I got going on with me if that's how they're going to treat a guy that's being honest about, his mental health struggles. So
honestly,
there was a big, stigma with it. And I think it's better now, but it's still something that you got to deal with. Again, what are you going to do when you get there? You got to get out of it.
no, I love that. And so I'm glad you did get out of it. And then
Yeah.
you kind of shifted the whole narrative. You got into media. But for me, you also got into Twitter. You might have already been on there, but your online like profile, it is amazing. To me, you're the funny guy posting videos, asking funny questions, but also the accountability. You provide accountability. So like what made you just decide that like, all right, it's Twitter and I'm gonna have an impact on there?
I don't really think there was any one thing. I do think going through the struggles that I've been through that I really didn't think existed in the world. I think coming out of that, it made me realize that while I was a player, I squandered a lot of opportunities to maybe do good, do well, to do some positive things other than just put a ball in a basket. And I don't know, again, pandemic, all the social issues. I thought, if I were a player right now, I know what I would be doing. And so, I think a little bit of is trying to speak out for right and good, injustice. I grew up seeing it, and I picked my spots, but not near forcefully enough. So I think that's been the biggest difference for me is just be understanding that there's more going on in the world than just me playing basketball.
Coming up next, I talk more with Rex Chapman about playing against MJ and also NBA players having their own platforms now, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Yeah, so that's funny because you talked about it. And okay, so we both grew up, our whole upbringing, I kind of alluded to it. Our whole upbringing was how do we be the best player that we can be? How do we win a championship? How do we do X, Y, and Z on the basketball court? So now fast forward to both of our lives. for me, I think that there probably is going to become a point, if not already, where a lot of people don't even know me as the basketball
Right.
player. They know me as either the Atlanta Dream co-owner, vice president, or FCF or something. So how wild is it to you
Yeah.
that we spent our whole upbringing life trying to be? I mean, you became an NBA
I
star,
know. I know.
and now people may not recognize. They might know you as the internet guy.
I know. I was the eighth pick in the draft, the first pick of the Charlotte Hornets, and I think about this story once a week when people bring this up. It was probably about 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I was at the combine in Chicago, the NBA combine, and I've got my lanyard on, with my name on it.
Mm-hmm.
And Grant Williams, Boston Celtics, Grant Williams
Yeah, that's my
comes out,
guy.
yeah, comes out on the court. And I've been covering Grant for the last couple of years doing Kentucky basketball. So he played at Tennessee. We faced him. He's great. Love him. Wait, he played at Tennessee, right? Yeah.
Don't get me to lying.
Yeah. So he I'm at the combine, I'm out on the court. Players are starting to walk out on the court. He's participating in the combine and walks up to me and goes, "Hey, Rex Chapman." I went, "Yeah." He said, "The Twitter guy." I said, "Yep, that's it." And then a little later, I guess in the day or maybe the next day, somebody had told him, and he came back up and apologized, like it was apologizing. So every time I see him now, we kind of laugh about it. But that does happen quite a lot, and it happens more with ladies. Like I'll be in the supermarket or something, and a lady will go, "Are you Rex Chapman?" I'll be like, "Yeah." And right away, I know they don't know anything about sport. They're not watching sports. They don't know me from basketball. So
That's
it's a bit
crazy.
silly.
Grant, come on, Grant. And Grant did
Grant,
play at Tennessee. Thank
yeah,
you,
he did.
Paul.
Yep.
Let us know. But come on, Grant. Like we got to know better. We got to know the people. I mean, at least the lottery picks, okay? Like at least the lottery picks. But
He wasn't even alive yet. He wasn't even alive yet. I gotta accept it.
No, I mean, I'm just giving you a hard time. But it's like, so okay, so let's get into that then, because you said he wasn't even alive yet.
Mm-hmm.
And even from, I didn't retire that long ago, and the WNBA has changed dramatically. So, other than the money of it all, what do you think has changed the most since your time in the NBA?
Oh, wow. Well, the social media, the internet, you could not, when I was playing, you could not listen to sports radio. You could just choose to not do that. And
what do you mean? Like
because sports radio was becoming really toxic, every local, and it was just sort of you just didn't want to listen to it every day. You could tune that out. Social media, it's everywhere. I mean, these guys know what's being said about them all the time. And that's hard. They have a level of responsibility that we didn't have. They could go out without phones and videos, and they could do a lot more stuff. That guys don't get in trouble is a real testament. More often is a real testament to them, guys and girls. It's different from a basketball perspective. We could hold and grab a whole lot, hand checking, and defensively, it was more physical. It's more aesthetically pleasing today. And the players, it used to be, and you remember going to college, it wasn't like the game has changed. You always had 4 or 5 guys on the court who couldn't shoot outside 15 feet,
right?
Who couldn't dribble with both hands. Now, 10 guys on the court can dribble, pass, and shoot. The whole game has changed. I don't like saying they're better than we are, but
we gotta let it go.
People are better. They're more skilled. They're better. If I'm driving right-handed baseline and I got to make the hammer pass, I can pick that thing up off the dribble and whip it across there. If I'm going left-hand baseline, I'm picking up, I'm throwing it across my body, jumping out of bounds to try to make it. I couldn't, I just didn't didn't do that. It's different.
I agree so much. And the reason I say they're better in a sense of the game has evolved. Like everybody asked the questions of why are so many records being broken now? It's because it's like, I can't imagine if I shot 15 threes in one game, I know. And that's the thing. It's like, I know that I didn't retire that long ago, but in 2009, when I came into the league, if I were to be shooting 15
oh my God, they'd be mad at you, man. The teammates be like, drive the ball.
Yeah, it just was not the thing. But to your point, I love the game. It's so
Same.
aesthetically pleasing. We get to see people like Steph Curry, Kelsey Plum, Ryan Howard change the game in a sense of the volume shooting from three. But I'm also curious, what are your thoughts then on, you know, how you said social media of it all? What about player podcasts? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Because right now we see that a lot of players, they get to have their voice be heard. There's obviously pros and cons to everything. So I'm curious your thoughts.
I'm really concerned to see, or anxious to see how it goes.
Yep.
I think you have to be really good, like really good, to be Draymond, for instance. Draymond and Paul. They seem to be a lot more, Paul George. They seem to be a little more opinionated in the summertime when they're not playing, because you got to back that shit up every single night. You got to go out and you're a target. So I'm kind of interested to see how it plays out. I know Pat Bev and some other guys have podcasts now, and by and large, I think it's a good thing, because for so long, players, men, women, were at the mercy of their teams to tell the narrative, and now players they have their own platform now, and they can speak their mind a little bit freer, and I think that's for the good.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you bring a good point. I didn't really think about that, but do you think that people are actually gonna like make you, what's that stuff you was talking on the podcast?
Yeah, I would.
Like,
I damn sure would. I really would. Like the stuff that PG has started up with Devin Booker, you know, which I kind of like.
Yeah.
I kind of like it.
It's good for the game.
It's good for the game, but you better be that guy. I mean, you better, because now the knives are after you.
Yeah, it's trash talking with microphones in front of you, and now we all know what you said.
Right.
We know when the scheduled game is. So I mean,
like, all right, for me, if I had a podcast back in the day and I got to go out and play Michael tonight, and I'm talking shit about whatever, that's hard.
Would you talk about Michael though?
What do you mean?
If you were in your playing days and you were in your playing days, would you know better than to do that? Or
yes, yes. Don't wake the bear. Yeah.
It really was that, like, while you were a player, y'all still, y'all looked at Michael like this.
No. Everybody. I looked at everybody that way.
Oh, okay.
I hope they looked at me that way. It was just, it was a different. No, you definitely weren't given that deference, but you did know, if you let Michael get going, it's over. It's over. If you let him dunk one in Chicago Stadium, the crowd's going to go crazy, and it's almost over at that point in the 90s.
It's so crazy hearing people talk about Michael, because everyone speaks in the same.
But I liked playing. I really liked playing against. Well, he was the best. We didn't really know that. I mean, you kind of did, but you're not going to give that up to anybody. I enjoyed playing against him because he hated chasing screens, and he would die on screens. He would just gamble and run away. And so I knew I was going to get 15 good looks every time I played against Michael and them, because he just, on the ball, come on, he was tough, but he just didn't like running around screens.
Okay, so there's some truth to this, because you did have an unreal game where you went off for like 39 points, had 9 3-pointers against the 96 Bulls. 96 Bulls. You were look, you already starting to give, because you know which one I'm talking about. You 96 Bulls, one of their 10 losses that season. Do you remember that game? I'm just curious, because
I do.
About Michael. So what do you remember from that game?
We only had like 8 guys available. We had made a trade, and I had actually been on South Beach with a bunch of the Bulls players the night before the game. They stayed out all night. I was there. Yeah, I was not. I left. So I knew they'd been out all night. Also, they're coming to Miami. We ended up being the 8 seed that year. They were the 1 seed. So this was only like a couple months left in the season, and we just snuck them. I got really hot, and it wasn't even like it was a close game. They kind of came back, but we, they just, how it is. If you let a good player get going in a professional league, you got your hands full. And so I had just got going that night. And we beat them. But fast forward 2 weeks later, we played them again at home. Mm-hmm. And Michael and I, same agent. He called me to go to Carolina for Dean Smith. I've known him forever. His mom and dad went to our games in Charlotte. He's from Carolina, so we've known each other forever. And we played that game. We beat them. And then we played them 2 weeks later, and the ball, jump ball goes up. We're at home. Ball goes up. Michael cracked me in the sternum with an elbow, like, and I just almost crumpled. And I was like, oh shit, like, all right, well, it's gonna be like that tonight.
Yeah, he was letting you know
he
early.
was letting me know he did not forget. I hadn't even been thinking that he was like upset about it. I really wasn't. I just thought, it was a throwaway game for them. He was upset about it for a couple of weeks, and then he got like, I don't know, 40 and didn't play the third, and I got like 15 on 3 for 13, and it was just and then after the game, we see each other again. He kind of winks and smiles, and we dap each other up. But he was a different animal.
Listen,
man.
There's something about the greats where they don't forget stuff.
Yeah.
They said Kobe Bryant, he had told like his teammates that he's running through Pau Gasol, like first play of the game.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like he's like, we're not just like, there's something about the
dominance, that dominance. Yeah. And you said it.
You don't even get your little bit of win. You got your 39 points. You was happy. Like,
but you know what? You said it earlier. To become great at something, whatever it is, I think you have to sacrifice a little bit of sanity. All those days at the park, all those days at the gym where you're getting your ass kicked and all that, tuning that out and going back and getting your brains beat back in the next day just because you want to get better takes a special kind of crazy.
Definitely.
And so when you were talking about coming out of high school, coming out of college, how do you adjust? You better adjust, because, having that mentality as an athlete is great. Right. Having it as a person in life is not always great. You got to be able to turn it off a little bit.
Have you learned to turn it off?
A little bit.
All right, because I want to say,
time.
I was going to ask you, what was your point? What would be a pointer? Because I'm really sure that, we're sitting here, two retired athletes that, we honestly got to play a lot into our career. Mm-hmm. I mean, you played 666 games over a 12-year span. And so I played 11 years in WNBA. We got to live our lives, but then there's some players that didn't get to live out probably their full hoop dreams. Mm-hmm. How do you switch that off because you've even, I would say, hit rock bottom in a sense of you've been through a lot. Where do you go from? Like, how do you get up from rock bottom?
I think that's just it. What are you going to do? Are you going to quit? And that's not really an option. Or are you going to fight? And you just got to dig down to all the things that helped, get you where you got. And you got to go back. I had to go back. I had to learn the value of $1 again that I might have never known. Coming from high school where they're paying, kind of paying me to go to college. I never had to worry about money.
Did they pay you to go to college, Rex?
Well, not legally. But they needed to. I wanted no part of college.
Right. They did their job.
Yeah, but it's hard to. I think it was a hard lesson for me to learn, because the real world is not like a locker room. You can get mad at somebody in a locker room or on the court, and you can cuss them out, and you can maybe fight with them. Yeah. That doesn't work in the Atlanta Dreams front office, right? You got to deal with people in a real way. And if that's not part of your DNA, that's something you have to learn. And it was something I had to learn.
That's true. No, that's a good point. I mean, we learn a lot of ways that are good on the athlete side, but we do have to unlearn a lot of things that the way we communicate as athletes. I asked one of the directors that started working with the Dream, what's the biggest thing you've noticed working with athletes? And she was like, how you guys communicate. And I'm like, I could see that, because we're direct, we're blunt. You better not take offense to it. I'm not going to take offense to it. If you do take offense to it, you better be over it by game time, or you better be over it next play. So
a lot of unspoken stuff, just a look.
Yeah.
On the court, it's so many unspoken things. You learn your own language with your teammates, and it's a totally different world in the real world.
Agreed. All right. One last question. Yeah. It's a fun question, because right now we talked about greatness, and I think that there's so many parallels between greatness and athletes and entertainers. And right now we have some of the greats on tour, in a sense of Beyonce is on tour with the Renaissance tour. We got Drake on tour. We got Taylor Swift on tour. So I have a twofold question for you. Of those three, which one are you, or have seen, going to see? And then who's an icon performer that you wish to see perform live before it's all said and done, or wish to have seen perform live?
Okay, so Beyonce would be one.
Okay. Let's go.
Beyonce's one. And then I like Drake. Drake's a UK, Kentucky guy. John Calipari, all that.
But
They're
why
friends.
are you saying Drake is UK?
No, he is. Drake is UK. Drake is UK. And so, and I love Drake, but I also love Taylor Swift. My youngest daughter is 23, and she still has a cardboard cutout of Taylor Swift. Oh, wow. And I also try to figure out what is the hate for Taylor Swift. There's some people that hate Taylor Swift.
I see. I don't know nothing about her, so I don't know.
Yeah, but I go Taylor Swift 2, Beyonce 1, Taylor Swift 2, and Drake 3.
Okay.
Prince is my man. Prince is one of the reasons too I wore number 3, because I saw a picture of Prince when I was in high school playing on his high school basketball team with an afro and number 3.
Blouses.
Yes, and I was given the number 3 because it was one of the smallest uniforms on the court or in the program. 00 and 3. I was the second smallest kid. They gave me number 3. Once I saw Prince had it, I was like, all right, I'm good.
Purple rain, purple rain. Shouts to Prince, man. Everybody knows we got to perform live with him at Paisley Park after we won Minnesota. Rex Chapman, listen, love your journey. Love how, like you said, you pulled yourself up, you figured it out, and now you have a page on Twitter that I think just does nothing but spews positivity, and I love it. Accountability, and we love to see it in an ally like you. So thank you for joining me here on Montgomery & Co. Rex.
Anytime. I'll come back anytime, and I want to see an Atlanta Dream game with
you.
Courtside.
Oh, he said, listen, he said courtside, honey. Pull up. Let me know when you're in the A. Pull up on me.
I will.
All right. So having said that, coming up, we're going to talk to the crew about just performers. Who do you want to see before it's all said and done? All right, y'all. So I just asked Rex, who would he want to go see in concert? Because we have Beyonce on concert at the Renaissance Tour, we have Drake on concert, and we have Taylor Swift on concert. And so just like, first of all, side note, these concerts, we have probably 3 of the biggest performers right now to date out in concert. And just to give you some concept, the highest grossing concerts in history, Boardroom put out who had the highest grossing concerts in the history of concerts. And the first one was George Strait, 18.1 million.
My man George, I like him.
Okay, so Snook likes George. Number 2, and that happened in 2014. That was at AT&T Stadium, and they're talking about one night only. Y'all know that drill. So one night only, how much money did they bring in? So George Strait, 18.1 million in 2014. Then Snook's man again, George Strait, in 2023, he made 16.6 million. Then at number 3, we got Beyonce. She made 16.5 million in one night. Then we have Beyonce again at number 4 in 2023. So here's the thing. She did MetLife Stadium 2 separate times. So both of those times she sold out 16.5 million, which makes her number 3 and 4 on the list. And then at number 5, we got George Strait again at 16.3. So just to put it in perspective, Beyonce and George Strait have the top 5 biggest grossing concerts in history, ranging from 16 to 18 million in one night. One night. All right. So I just like to give stats and numbers so that people can know, like, this is big business. Everybody's pulling up. So I want to ask you guys, who are you pulling up to in what order? There's Beyonce, Drake, Taylor Swift. What order are you pulling up?
I would just save my money and go Beyonce 3 different times.
Oh, Cole. So Cole said Beyonce, Beyonce, Beyonce.
Yep.
Okay, but you don't even have an order, so you're not fooling with Drake.
I'm not fooling with Drake, and I'm definitely not a Swiftie, so you can count that out. I can't. It's too sugary. It's too sugary sweet for me. I can't.
Snooka, what you feeling? What order are you going? Beyonce, Drake, Taylor Swift.
Okay, well, I have to go with the Queen Bee first. This is something my daughters kind of snuffed me out. All 3 of them wanted to go to Beyonce, and no one asked me did I want to go. So, maybe they thought I was too old or whatever. But I would go to the Queen Bee, Beyonce first, and then I would go to Drake second. Although he's not from my era or anything, he plays that kind of music that kind of makes you feel good. So I kind of like him a little bit. I listen to him a little bit. and then Taylor Swift third because, like I said, I'm old. And at her concerts, she be having seismic equation. I mean, what do you call them? Earthquakes, and the floor and the earth be rumbling and stuff. So I don't want her to bring down a building when I'm there. So.
Oh goodness, I knew you were trouble when you walked in. So wait a minute. So, you said Drake. You be listening to a little bit of his music. You know they be throwing bras on stage and stuff, panties and bras.
Look, they threw diapers on the stage in my ears. So
what?
Yes, they did.
The performers were wearing diapers.
Yeah, was it the Funkadelics?
Yeah,
they were wearing diapers.
Oh, what? Why diapers? Why would people throw diapers?
That was a part of their costume.
Because the performers were wearing diapers.
Oh, look, and that's why I don't want to hear nothing, because y'all's era loves to talk about how we dress and what we feel like. Right. It gives me so much trouble for holes.
Every time we see some ripped
jeans, Diddy says, "Oh, baby, you buy them with holes in them? Wear that back in the day when we didn't have new jeans." And y'all mean to tell me that y'all had grown men run around in diapers?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
George Clinton and them boys is what Roy's talking about in the chat. But okay, Serena, what you got? What's your order of who would you pull up on?
Well, we went to see Beyonce, so that was I told Renee
you didn't take me.
I'm so sorry, Snake. I didn't even know we were going until maybe like 2 or 3 days before.
Yeah, it's a surprise.
But I told Renee that was probably one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. And I'm counting like marriage, honeymoon, like childbirth, everything. It was that great. Beyonce and I'm a performer, so of course I appreciated it in a whole nother way. But okay, so of course Beyonce first, and I will be like, call to you 3 different times. But I gotta show love to the other artists. Drake second, and I am a little bit of a Swiftie, so I almost put her number 2.
Okay,
wait a minute. 2, but I put her number 3.
All right, everybody, we're gonna have to pause. This is gonna be the pause for a marriage discussion. All right, we already talked about this. Okay, so you said you're a little bit of a what?
I'm a little bit of a Swiftie. I am.
And so, when is the last time you played a Taylor Swift song from your actual mobile device?
Well, I mean, she knew to ask me that very specifically because she knows that I haven't played it. But how often do I sing it? Do you not hear me singing Taylor Swift in the shower? Yes, you do. And when I'm getting I sing it all
Whitney
the time.
In the shower, I have nothing. I think you singing no Taylor Swift. You mean to tell me when you trying to run your vocal cords and stretch your vocals, you gonna turn on?
I mean, Taylor Swift has really good. I appreciate her songwriting. Okay, so and okay, so the whole so Scooter Braun, everybody knows that he's in the news right now for a lot of things, and I really like what she did. Like when I really started just having not a little bit, but a lot more respect for her.
Maybe no.
Listen. Like I already liked her as a performer, as an artist and stuff, but like just on a whole nother level, when she took her recordings, when she started recording her songs over again, I was like, okay, she's a real artist. I got respect for her.
Okay, I want y'all to know that she has given us very much so irrelevant information.
I'm giving you all the reasons why I like her.
Swift re-recorded all of her music so that she could own her masters. I love that too. But baby, for you to be a Swiftie, I want to know, when do you play Taylor Swift songs or do you
don't gotta be a Swiftie to play Taylor Swift songs. I haven't played Whitney songs in a long time, and I'm still a Whitney fan.
Oh, okay. I'm glad y'all, because this is where I'm gonna. You haven't played Whitney songs in a long time?
Mm-mm.
Like how long? I don't know. All right, y'all. I'm sorry. I will resume our conversation. Serena just trying to sit up here. I live with her. Okay. I ride in cars with her. I hear the music that she listens to in the shower because it's so loud. We all hear it. She's singing. This woman, I wish my baby Junior could have came in here right now. I don't know when Serena listens to this. I don't know when she's a Swiftie. It must be in her other life that we are not a part of.
But why are you questioning my Swiftiness right now? What do you have against Taylor Swift?
I love it.
Nothing other than the fact that you're not a Swiftie.
I think Roy just said I'm living a double life. It's like my wife can't believe it. that I'm
believe
an
it. It's
actual
like them
Swiftie.
people. Okay, y'all know that thing where they have you go in front of your kid and you start to say all things that are not true. Like, yeah, you're on the phone. Like, yeah, every morning I wake up and I run 10 miles and then I go cook breakfast for the
I would
kids.
never play that game with Vance. Oh, he would.
He'll
Yeah.
call you out so
Then
fast.
I do
Oh,
my
my
yoga
goodness.
and meditation. After that, of course, for me, I have to read the Bible 2 chapters every day. Like, it's like I feel like I'm a part of that thing where she's up here. This is why, babe, because when
I
people
mean,
hear
I don't be like, I don't go around telling people that I love Taylor Swift, you know? So
Okay.
that's a personal
Okay.
choice.
Support is a verb, but we'll move on. She said,
Well, let me just say this.
Beyonce-
Let me go back. After you read those numbers, I probably need to go see what George Strait doing. Because
What is he
anytime he's
doing?
beating out Beyonce consistently, I
Oh,
gotta
he's
see what's
honky
going on.
tonking, and I like that honky tonk
Yeah,
music.
Mom, I'm telling you, he's doing something.
He's honky tonking, yeah.
I'm telling you, something is happening because he beat Beyonce not once, but
Hey.
twice. I gotta
Right.
see what's going on in his
Yeah,
concert.
the top 5 list. There's only 2 people in the top 5
Top
list.
5. He beat him twice. I need to know what's going on at them concerts. So
Yes. Okay,
For
so
real.
mine would be the same. It would be Beyonce, Drake, Taylor Swift. And I'm gonna just say right here, I don't know nothing about Taylor Swift. So that's why
Me
I'm
neither.
like, it's a no judge zone for me. I don't know Taylor Swift. I don't know. I know some of her hit songs, of course. Like I just sang, I Knew You Were Trouble When You Walked In. I'm sure I know a couple more of the popular ones, but I'm gonna just be very honest and say, like, for me, Taylor Swift is last on my list because I don't know anything about her. I don't know her music. She's not on any of my playlists, and it's not nothing against her. It's just I listen to different people. So honestly, who is it? Gene Ieko is on my playlist.
Janae. I always gotta tell her how to say that name. Janae Ieko.
I love you, Janae Ieko. You are on all of the playlists. So it's like my playlist is just about who I like. I'm only saying that because I don't want no Swiftie problems over here. You don't want no problems with nobody. It's just that's our preference. Okay. So having said that, I'm curious though, because there's your favorite artist, and then there's who would you want to see perform? Like, like who would you want to see perform either before they have passed away? Because there's some great performers that are no longer here, or before you have passed away. Not in no dark stuff, but who do you want to see before it's all said and done? Like, I feel like concerts, Serena talked about it a little bit. I still have Beyonce in my system. Like the Renaissance tour is still in my blood, in my thought process. I'm randomly singing the songs. I randomly think about certain scenes. Blue Ivy is a legend. That's Jay-Z and Beyonce's daughter. And you could just see as she was walking up there and she was walking down the thing, it was just like, you could just feel the
I told Renee, I told Renee, reminded me of the scene in Lion King, when they're lifting up Simba and all the animals are like looking at her. We were like all the little animals like looking at Blue Ivy. She was just it was magical. It
was literally that. So I felt it all. Like I felt everything Beyonce was doing. So it's like, had I not have seen Beyonce, she would have been the one on my list in the sense of wanted to see. Because for me, I got to perform and see Prince. So that is not on my list because I've experienced it.
Lucky.
Beyonce, I got to perform. I got to see her perform. Jay-Z, I've seen him perform. So when I'm picking mine, I'm making sure you guys know, like, these people aren't on the list because I was blessed to be able to see them perform. I've seen Rihanna perform. I've seen a lot of people perform. So the person that I would want to see perform that I'm mad that I have not seen is, come on now, it's Mike Jack. It's Michael Jackson.
I've seen him perform.
You have, Snook?
No.
Oh, for real? See, that's what I'm saying. So everybody's answers are going to be different. So then you, Snook, who would you want to see perform then that you haven't seen perform?
Well. It would have to be A House Is Not a Home.
Okay.
Luther. I didn't get to see Luther. I'm so hurt about that because Luther is. And if I had 1, 2, 3, it would be Luther, Prince, and Whitney.
But Luther is what?
She said Luther, Prince, and Whitney.
No, but I thought she said Luther is.
Luther is my favorite. I'm sorry I didn't get to hear him perform when he was living.
You guys are missing the joke, you old geezers. This is the thing. Snook said Luther is, and everybody up here missed it but me.
I heard it.
What?
I said, well.
Well. That's what I said. Well.
So she's gonna go see Luther because she's thirsty. Okay, Cole, who you gonna go see, Cole?
Yeah, this was a hard one for me because there's quite a few. Of course, Prince. Of course, Prince. That's the main one. But then I would have loved to see Aretha. I would have loved to see Mahalia. I would have loved to see. There's some people, some powerhouse women that I would just love to have just sat and listened to. So they could have stood on stage, not done a thing, but just blow me through the walls. And I think Aretha and Mahalia are two that I would love to have seen. But my number one is Prince. Oh,
I knew it was gonna be Prince for
Prince.
you.
Ooh, goodness, yes. Love that man.
Yeah, Prince. Love that. Prince and Michael Jackson were definitely going to make my list, but I have like a top 5. I would say definitely my number 1 will be Whitney, just because I feel like I learned to sing with Whitney. That when she died, I was heartbroken. I was like, oh, I didn't get to even sing with her on stage. I was so heartbroken. I was like, no, okay. So my second one would probably have to be Selena.
Selena.
Yeah, I mean, Renee, anybody who knows me knows that I love Selena and Whitney. And
Selena Gomez,
Selena Quintanilla.
Mom, okay, I'm sorry. Mom, I was like, no, let me stop this right here. Let me stop it right here.
And shout to Selena Gomez, only murderers in the building.
Yeah,
it's only murders. She keeps saying only murderers in the building. It's only murders in the building.
Number 3.
Number 3. Okay, so he's a Mexican singer, and I actually did get to see him. So I'm just this is kind of like one that I'm grateful that I saw before he passed away, and that's Vicente Fernandez. Anybody who knows Vicente Fernandez, he passed away, and he's an absolute legend. When I saw him, I was like, I can't. When he passed away, I was so grateful that I got to see. Rose in the chat, she said Rey. Exactly, he's the king. Everybody calls him El Rey. He was that's somebody that I'm very, very grateful that I got to see, and I wish I could see him again.
Well, and when I just so happened to be at Miss Lucy's house, that's Serena's mom, and when he had passed away, the whole house
was a crying. Big deal.
So like, you know how like I wanted people to understand, like when Michael Jackson or somebody like that passed away, and people that didn't know him but just was like, wow, was crying, and it was a big deal. That's what he was to them, because their whole family, it was like a very emotional moment. So for me, when I hear the name, it's like I might not recognize it, but I just want people to know that like this was an icon.
It's because of what music represents, you know, like even I guess it's like, exactly. It's like his songs, you know, people get emotional because a lot of people fell in love to his songs, or it probably reminds them of one of their parents or something. Even at the Beyonce concert, when she started singing Dangerously in Love, I started crying because that's me and Renee's song. And I was like, oh my God, I couldn't help but to cry. It's just the emotions that music invokes in the memories. That's what means so much.
I love that. And what about number 5? Who finishes out your list?
Oh man, Michael Jackson, of course.
Yeah, me too. Okay. Michael, I would have done Michael too.
I feel like the closest I got to Michael was Beyonce. She's kind of like the female version of Michael.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, honestly, like Beyonce, people have to just understand that. Like, I know people might be sick of hearing about Beyonce right now because she's on tour and everywhere she goes, the whole city, like they called it BTL, like, you know what I mean? Like BTL instead of ATL, like everywhere she goes, the whole city, and probably the same for other artists as well. But what I see, what she's doing in every city she goes to, how the whole city conforms to her. I'm sure that the same thing's happening with Taylor Swift. That's why I'm making sure people understand. Like, I'm just not following Taylor Swift, so I don't know. I'm following Beyonce, and she's like has the highest grossing tour dates in history, and then she has whole cities shutting down for her. So it's just like when you see an icon, what you call an icon living, that's like people that got to see Michael Jackson live, people that watch Michael Jordan play live. People right now that get to watch LeBron James, and we have the saying that we are all witnesses when Nike had that campaign. It really is true, because now kids, they have like, I've seen tape of Michael Jordan, and I've seen games, like I can remember a little bit, you know, like I can remember things that you can only watch tape of Michael Jordan. Some people may never watch LeBron in person. These are some of the greatest. So talent is a real thing. I talk about sports talent, entertainment talent, and talent is a real thing in a sense of when you get to experience it. I was in the presence of greatness when we were at the Renaissance tour, excuse me.
Definitely.
And you could tell that everybody felt it.
Yeah.
And so there's just something to be said about being in the presence of greatness, whether it's
and even her fans too, like they're so proud of being Beyonce's fans. It was like everybody there. It was just like a big party. Everybody was just really, really proud to be a Beyonce fan. And it was like, even my sister, she was like, I felt like I was getting like hypnotized, but I wanted to get hypnotized. I loved it.
Bring it on. So it's just like, we just wanted to talk about greatness because we always see greatness in the sense of sports, and we see the stats that they do and the triple doubles and they're breaking records. But what's happening right now in music is that same kind of triple double run. Beyonce's on it right now. Beyonce got a quadruple double. If this was sports, Beyonce is trying to solidify herself as one of the greats and has done it with this tour and with the money that she's bringing in, because that is their stats. How many albums you sell, that is your stats. How many people show up at your tours and your tour dates, that is your stats. And right now, Beyonce's looking like MVP. She made the greatest of all time list. So there it is. All right, so that's it for this week. And the thing that I keep thinking about right now is how Rex Chapman said you do have to lose a little bit of your sanity. It's kind of true to put yourself through what athletes, entertainers, or anyone that's reached a certain level of success. You do have to be a little bit crazy because you have to do the abnormal. You have to push yourself past what your limits are. You have to set new limits for yourself, and only a crazy person would do that. But you have to be a little bit crazy to think you're going to be successful, to think you're going to stand out amongst a billion people. So I guess, is being crazy a generational thing? I don't know. I'm just saying, but to be successful, you have to sacrifice. See y'all next week where it's a generational thing.